And showtime, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the latest episode of the Channel Pro 5-Minute Roundup, a look at news, trends, and tips for the SMB channel in 5 minutes or thereabouts. My name is Rich Freeman. I am executive editor of the Channel Pro Network and one of your hosts on this program. With me, as always, is my co-host, Eric Simpson, a business transformation and improvement consultant for MSPs and other IT providers. Eric, how you doing this week?
Doing fantastic this week, Rich. It's been beautiful all week, and I've got a lot of work done. I still got a bunch to catch up, but I'm feeling real good about where I'm at right now. How about you, Rich? It's been a little bit of a crazy news week up and down, hasn't it?
It really has, and we will dive into that momentarily. But it's been a crazy news week, and a lot of that news coming out of Microsoft. So I'm at home in Seattle this week. The sun is out. It's nice. Next week, I'm going to Inspire, the Microsoft Partner Conference.
I'll miss you there, buddy, but I'll catch up with you on our next event together.
And you know what? Actually, that's going to be the Q3 edition of SMB Tech Fest. That's next week as well. I don't know if you're going to be there or not, but we might have a chance to sit down together and record next week's 5-minute roundup face to face.
I am. I'll be speaking there, so that'll be another opportunity for us to produce this great 5-minute roundup, kneecap to kneecap, as it were.
All right. Well, let's talk a little bit about the news from this week. It has been quite really about 5 to 10 days or so for Microsoft partners. So July 1st is the beginning of the new fiscal year for Microsoft. With that milestone this year, Microsoft somewhat quietly revealed that they were going to be making a number of changes to their partner program, which is something that you sort of expect them to do on an annual basis. But this year, the changes that they announced set off an enormous uproar among their partners. There were three changes in particular that really upset a lot of partners. One, partners, as part of their partnership for many, many years, have enjoyed internal use rights to a variety of Microsoft solutions. And they use those for demos and employee training and dev test work. But also, a lot of companies just run the business on that software. And Microsoft announced that beginning July 1st, 2020, that benefit was no longer going to be available, and you were going to have to pay for software that maybe you've really kind of embedded into your business processes. There were some free support incidents that came along with that internal use software. Those are going away, at least for the on-premises Microsoft products. And then they fairly significantly, in some cases, raised the requirements to earn silver or gold level competencies in the Microsoft Partner Program as well. All of these were disruptive for Microsoft partners. They kind of came out of left field. A lot of people didn't feel like they had been given any warning or saw this coming. And so, as I say, a lot of very upset partners, a lot of complaints to Microsoft. Here we are recording this early in the afternoon on a Friday, July 12th, and it is about, 5 hours or so since Gabriela Schuster, the head of Microsoft's partner organization, published a blog post announcing that in response to all of this, all the complaints, all the criticism from partners, all their unhappiness, Microsoft has rolled back all of those changes. They are not changing the rules around internal use rights software, not taking away the on-prem product support incidents, not raising the competency requirements, etc. And there was kind of an acknowledgement in that blog post that they did not do a great job of involving partners in the thinking around these changes. And they did not do a good job at all of communicating these changes and the fact that they would be coming to partners. And so the left implied there, without being explicitly stated, is Microsoft hasn't entirely given up on some of the issues that led it to make these changes, but they're going to try to go about it again in a more thoughtful kind of manner. And to cut it really short, I mean, the big issue, specifically around the internal use rights to Microsoft software, has to do with cost. When people were running that software on premises and all they were doing is basically downloading the software over the internet, loading it up on their own hardware, the incremental cost to hand out practically unlimited amounts of that software in that manner to partners was zero to Microsoft. Now, these days, especially with the cloud products, you're running that software essentially in their data center. And there are infrastructure costs, networking costs, storage costs, support costs. It actually costs Microsoft money to provide that free software to its partners. And Microsoft, basically, the partner organization, just blew past its budget for what it could afford to do. And the partner program has 300,000 partners. It picks up another 7,000 every month. And it was just unsustainable for Microsoft, they say. to continue providing that benefit for free. So that problem persists. I think this issue is coming back to the channel, but I suspect it will come back in a different manner, and Microsoft will communicate more with its partners about the issue before it announces a change of plans.
Yeah. Oops. Sorry about that. A little tone deaf, maybe not involving the partners. I mean, I remember, Rich, when I had my MSP practice, we were a gold partner, and boy, that partner program, I'd put it up against any program. And over the years since, they've just been, chipping away at it. And you and I have both heard from partners over the years, the discontentment of some of these decisions that Microsoft has made, and it's not the first time they've done something like that without really, checking. I think they've stuck to their guns with earlier decisions, but looking at the counterpoint that you make, yes, it's costing Microsoft more money now because it's being hosted in their cloud, but I know a few partners that would probably say yes, but Microsoft is making a tremendous amount more money now on these services that we are reselling for Microsoft. And so there should be some quid pro quo here. So yeah, the Twitterverse and the social media universe just kind of exploded over the last week. And I was tracking it pretty carefully. And, like I said to you, in some email threads, I was suspecting that they might take a step back and walk this back because there was such an uproar about it. So, hey, hats off. They did the right thing. They quickly backpedaled and said, hey, we're forget what we said, strike that from the record, eliminate that from any communications. But like you, I think that they're going to regroup and come back with another strategy that tries to address this in a different way. It's just, they got their wrist slapped a little bit this week.
Yeah, and it'll be interesting to see what kind of longer term consequences, if any, there are for Microsoft and the partner program. Because to your point, there are a lot of partners out there who went into this week and last week already a little bit dissatisfied with the program for one reason or another. And a lot of the feedback that I've heard from partners basically is, this felt like a slap in the face to them from Microsoft. So Microsoft did these things, then they undid these things. Theoretically, you're back to square one. But I do wonder if there's been any kind of a breach of trust in the eyes of partners, if this is something that's going to linger for a while.
Oh, I'm sure it stings, Rich. It stings. And you got to wonder what the timing of Inspire had to do with this. If they weren't, the week before Inspire, who knows what the response might have been. It might have been a little bit different, but of course, I'm sure they didn't want to deal with that as being the primary, thing that everyone is talking about when they're trying to launch, their Inspire event. Yeah,
absolutely. And I'm sure that's why they announced the rollback this morning. They wanted to get that out of the way before that event. I will also say quickly before we move on, we're going to be at that SMB Tech Fest event we mentioned before. That's run by our mutual friend, Dave Seibert. And speaking with Dave, who is very, very closely plugged into the Microsoft partner world, he said part of what happened here is Microsoft actually has some new benefits and some exciting new investments for partners that they will be announcing at Inspire next week. I confess I don't know very much about that. They haven't let the media in on whatever it is that they will be announcing at Inspire. But according to Dave, part of what happened here is the bad news got out before the good news is. Partners learned about the stuff that was being taken away from them. Next week, they're going to learn about the new stuff that they're getting. And we'll see what that is, how much they value it, and if that maybe takes some of the sting out of this.
Yeah, PR 101, I tell you.
Yeah. Yeah. But let's dive into your tip of the week because it's a good one. It's actually an old one, but a good one. It's a sales tip that you suggest for making sure you get to the person who can actually spend the money.
Yes, Rich, it's an oldie, but a goldie, as I like to say. And, this was a strategy that we employed to great effect back, when I was operating my MSP practice. And it overcomes that challenge that we have when trying to get a hold of a prospect. These days it's near impossible with all the filters and email filters and spam filters and gatekeepers and automated, phone systems and whatnot. If someone doesn't want to talk to you, it's really easy for them not to talk to you. So Here's a technique that I think some of the old guard sales professionals will appreciate. And let me see if I can share my screen here real quick. And it's basically a way for you to resemble an urgent express mail delivery. And what we would do is we would buy these urgent letters in bulk, and we would pay whatever the normal postage was for these things. We're not paying the next day air fee for these. That way it keeps it very economical, but we would put a cover letter in there. We would have our, whatever it is that we were presenting to try to get an appointment. Sometimes we would put a little tchotchke in there and try to be cute to get a call back. And what happens here, Rich, is typically when something looks like, an urgent express delivery like this, typically it doesn't get opened by folks that are kind of screening mail or by the front office. It'll just probably end up on a pile on the decision maker's desk with all the rest of the mail. And guess what? Hey, it's 9 by 12. It looks important. They're going to open it up. And now you've got your message in front of these prospects. And I've been using this recently, working with providers to train them to become MSSPs. And we're doing dark web scans to identify potential prospects that have company credentials that are being marketed and made available on the dark web, the criminal side of the internet. So the intent here is to have a nice cover letter explaining what we do and how we do it, and putting a copy of that report with a little bit of redacted passwords and things like that. We're not trying to put this in the wrong hands of somebody, but we're qualifying, making sure that this is the person that we need to send it to. We put the cover letter in, we put the report in, we send it out, and now the folks are opening it up, and at least they're getting it. And prior to this, partners have been just trying to email and call and trying to, get through all that maze of all these, sales prevention techniques that are available to these business owners today. So again, a great oldie but a goldie tip for partners out there. Please give us feedback. Let me know how it works for you.
Yeah, it's a great tip, and what I love about it is, as you were saying, it's an economical option. I think we've all probably heard these stories about techniques that people will use to get past the gatekeeper and get the attention of a business owner or CEO that can involve, sending out something expensive, basically some kind of a gift, something that comes in a box and it's hard to miss. But this is really as simple as buying a bunch of envelopes that say urgent letter on them and just sending whatever it is you're going to send in that. It gets people's attention, and it's harder for them to just drop to the bottom of the pile or set aside.
Right. I mean, you look at that and, you got a pile of regular mail. What are you going to open first? Yeah. Psychological, right?
Well, we've got time for just one more story this week. And, it's been a good news, bad news week for Microsoft partners. Bad news, you're losing all these benefits. Good news, those changes have been canceled. It was kind of a good news, bad news week in Switzerland recently. Just depends on where you were. If you were attending a festival in honor of a Swiss aviation pioneer, it was bad news for you because you were expecting to enjoy a performance by the Swiss Air Force precision flying team, and you didn't get that. You didn't actually get that performance. But good news, if you were 4 miles away at the yodeling festival that was going on, and yes, that's right, I'm not making this up, there was a Swiss yodeling festival taking place 4 miles away from the Aviation Pioneer Festival, and those folks unexpectedly got to enjoy the performance by the Swiss Air Force Precision Flying Team, because the Precision Flying Team apparently doesn't navigate so precisely. They showed up at the wrong festival.
Yeah, it's really interesting. Yodeling Festival, hey, we have our pig calling, events here, Rich, so, hey, potato, but no GPS in these aging aircraft is what I understood from the news release that we're covering. Yes, these are older planes. They're not, it's kind of like the Blue Angels for us, right? It's their precision team, but lack of GPS and navigation controls, and whoops, the lead, pilot basically saw some banners as they were flying toward the correct destination and said, "Oh, this must be it," and proceeded to execute all their aerial maneuvers as the yodeling festival attendees watched on in great appreciation, I'm sure.
This is what happens when you don't keep your technology current, people. So that's the moral of this story. You know, it's worth making that extra little investment for the GPS technology in this case to avoid embarrassment that extends all the way to Southern California and Seattle, Washington. So that is all the time we have this week on the 5-Minute Roundup. Thank you very much for joining us. We will be back next week with another episode for you, sitting side by side. If you are interested in learning more about the news that we announced about Microsoft this week and other business growth tips, you can find all that great information at ChannelProNetwork.com. We've got new stuff going up for you every day. If you like this show, you want to keep up with this show, watch future episodes, go to the Channel Pro Network channel in YouTube and subscribe to that, and make sure you ring that little bell there to get notifications about future episodes, and we will keep you informed about this show every week. You want to learn more about Eric and his company and the work he does with his customers, go to ericksimpson.com. That is ERICK Simpson.com. We'll be back next week. Thanks again for joining us. Until then, please enjoy the rest of your week. Eric and I are enjoying the rest of your week already.